The ego is telling you, I don't want to change. I don't want to do anything new. I don't want to learn anything new. So it's going to tell you that what's going on at that moment is a threat to you, and it's going to cause you to retract. Tackle this one beast, this one thorn in your side, then you're going to be so much more successful. Welcome to Howling at the Moon, where the mystical meets the practical, and the canine spirit guides lead the way. I'm your host, Heather Leigh Strom. In 2022, I experienced a sudden, life-changing spiritual awakening. After a lifetime of struggling with, who am I and why am I here? For 5 decades, the world felt cold and confusing. Now I see the patterns, the purpose, and the bigger magical picture. My mission? To help you find your way through your own awakening journey. Here, you'll discover limitless possibilities for spiritual growth, powerful healing frequencies, and extraordinary energetic professionals, each designed to guide you into deeper healing and remembrance. Some episodes feature enlightening wisdom from spiritually evolved guest healers, visionaries, and authors. Others are led by the multidimensional canine spirit guides themselves, sharing their unique intergalactic wisdom and frequency. If you've been craving deeper truth, multidimensional healing, and a little cosmic magic, you've just found your pack. Listen and watch on Spotify or YouTube and bring the magic back into your life. The delusion of resistance. So this is a really important and impactful topic, and that is resistance. It's a really sneaky creature because so many of us do not have the capability to understand when we are resisting. I know I was there. I was part of that group. It happened to me, and it still does because it's so insidious that sometimes it sneaks up on us and we can't even see that it's there. So, my intention with this podcast is to raise your awareness so that you can eliminate this barrier from your journey. Resistance is one of the most common blockages for us, for those of us who are really trying, attempting, focusing on spiritual awakening, spiritual healing, spiritual ascension, and who are attempting to raise the consciousness of the planet. Resistance is our biggest enemy. So, we're going to talk about that in this podcast. I'm going to give you many true life experiences that I'd like to share with you about my experience with resistance. That was one of the biggest obstacles I had to overcome in my journey. And as soon as I did, I was able to just hit the ground running. So, if you can tackle this one beast, this one thorn in your side, and at the very minimum, be able to identify when you are resisting, then you're going to be so much more successful on your journey back to wholeness. So, this is going to be a really fun conversation. I'm going to bring in a lot of topics that many people are interested in, including plant medicine, rape and ayahuasca, and also some of my own experiences with myself and working with my clients to really help you fully understand the purpose of resistance, what it looks like, what it feels like, and what you can do about it. And then at the very end, we're going to have a healing frequency from one of the canine spirit guides to assist us in being able to identify resistance and dissolve it. How does that sound? Are you guys ready? Okay, so we're taking a topic that no one wants to talk about, resistance, and we're going to turn it into this really fun, engaging experience because it's not a bad word, it's not a four-letter word, but it is critical. So I made this video on YouTube called Four Critical Mistakes that people make that gets in their way of spiritual growth. And you can find it on my YouTube channel. I'm going to put the link below in the description so that you can find it. But go and look at that video and see if any of these four critical mistakes resonates with you. But in this video, I go into depth about resistance itself. So refer to that for more information. But for this podcast, we're going to go into a deeper understanding of resistance. Number one, resistance comes from the ego. The ego is part of us. It's a necessary part of us. So you will hear of people discuss and talk about ego death, but I believe we need to coexist with our ego. We just need the ego to take a back seat. But resistance is part of the ego because it's the way the ego tries to keep you in your lane. The ego does not like change. So anything in your life that promotes change or that stimulates you to want to change or that might provoke you to change is going to be flagged by the ego as a threat. So this happens subconsciously. We're not aware of it because that's the ego's job. So it's really hard at first to circumvent the ego and to see resistance for what it is. Once you get through that initial stage where you have instructed your ego and you've overcome your ego, and now your ego sits in the back seat waiting for you to instruct it to engage, it's a little bit easier to see this kind of stuff. But let's talk about what resistance looks like. We're going to talk about what it looks like, what it feels like, and what we can do about it. So, the common signs of resistance, the physical signs of resistance are holding your breath, setting your jaw, clenching, that's resistance. Maybe avoiding a topic or a conversation, there's some resistance there, some energy around resistance in that conversation. A very unconscious sign of resistance is when someone is just holding energy. So if you don't want to let energy go, that's sort of a downstream effect of resistance. So if you don't want to let go of your story or your history or how bad your childhood was, or maybe if someone suggests how to overcome this and you're not ready, you're going to offer resistance. Or you don't want to, you're going to offer resistance. You'll offer an excuse. So, excuses are resistance. You'll offer an excuse for why you can't do it, why you shouldn't do it, why it's an impossible ask or it's just not feasible. There might be some financial limitations there that can act as a resistance. There's many different versions of resistance. Another sign of resistance is when we judge other people. We're avoiding or we're deflecting our resistance. So that's always a telltale sign for me. If I feel myself judging someone else, I instantly go inward and say, okay, where is it? Where's my resistance? So if I have an opinion, a real common opinion, we'll use an example. If I have an opinion about someone else's weight, about what someone else is eating, then there's some resistance to me within myself around that topic, some resistance around my own weight or around my own diet. So resistance can serve as a mirror to us sometimes. And a really subtle sign of resistance is just the fact that we might not be as open minded as we could be or as curious. So if you're having a conversation with someone and you feel some resistance about what they're saying or about that person, then you'll instantly be not interested, right? Have you had those conversations with people? You might not approve of who they are, what they're wearing, what they do for a living, what they said. This is also a form of resistance. So, all of these to me are a warning sign. And when I feel these creep in within myself, I know I need to take action. But they can be really hard to see in yourself until you've trained yourself to look for them and to appreciate them, because there's not a judgment on yourself when this creeps in, when the resistance comes in. There's not a judgment. You just want to notice it and know what to do about it. It's simply a fork in the road. Do you want to resist and stay firmly where you are? Do you want to relax and be open and curious and possibly change direction? So, this is the choice when resistance rears its head. The ego is telling you, I don't want to change. I don't want to do anything new. I don't want to learn anything new. So it's going to tell you that what's going on at that moment is a threat to you and it's going to cause you to retract, right? When we retract into ourselves, we have an opinion. We're not open minded. We're not coming from the heart with with genuine curiosity and concern and compassion for other people. So it really blocks us. It blocks us from ourselves and it blocks us from our higher selves when we have resistance. Think of it like a shield, like a like a barrier, because it basically encases you so nothing can change. So when you're in a state of resistance, you cannot receive. If you're trying to manifest, like, people want to manifest things in their lives. They want more money, they want more time, they want more love. um, and this is all wonderful and great, but if you're sitting in the state of resistance, nothing will change. So it doesn't matter what you say, it doesn't matter what you put on your vision board. It doesn't matter what affirmation you say. If you're sitting in resistance and you're holding this frequency, nothing is going to move. So, what you're asking for is not going to happen. And this is one of the most critical mistakes I see with my clients. And I certainly was affected and afflicted by this for most of my life, and I know intimately what it's like. And now, being on the other side of it, I am so thankful that I finally understand and I can finally see it for what it is and move past it. So, the point of this conversation and this podcast is to help you in doing that as well. So, some of us can be resistant and have no idea. I have clients who will sign up with me to have an appointment with the canine spirit guides. They're very excited about this opportunity. They have a list of objectives for the work. They fill out all their paperwork, they read the book, they watch all my podcasts, and we get into session and they're holding resistance. They're holding it in their energetic field. I used an example of holding on to their story or holding on to their pain. It sounds really counterintuitive, but there's many people that just don't want to let go of their story or their pain. If I bring it to their attention, usually the first thing out of their mouth or the first thought they have is, yeah, but. Yeah, but. You know that one? Yeah, but. In this case, it's really hard to see this in yourself. And this is where working with a mentor or a coach or having a really good friend that will tell you the truth, not something that you just want to hear, but will tell you what you don't want to hear because that's where resistance lives. It lives where you don't want to go, and it has trained you to avoid it. So when I get these people on my caseload, they just don't move. The frequency can't go through. If you think about um, water and a brick wall, can water go through that brick wall? No. Water goes along the side of it. Over time, it can etch into the brick wall or the stone. We see that all the time. It can reshape stone, right? But it takes a long time to do it that way. So when we're holding resistance, we're basically putting up a brick wall that nothing can get through. So the canine spirit guides can't get through it because this has to be our choice. And when we're holding resistance, we're blocking that choice. So these people, even though they want to very, very desperately, they want to change, they want to be at peace, they want to be healed, it just doesn't happen because they're holding the resistance to that process until we each get to the point where we surrender. And usually it happens when we're so miserable that we literally just give up emotionally, mentally. We just say, I surrender. I I don't know what I thought I knew, but we have to get to that point where we're that desperate sometimes. And that's what it took for me. I had to get where I was that desperate. And until that point, the angst will continue to build. The anxiety will continue to build. The bad luck will continue in your life. You'll keep hitting the wall. You'll keep going in circles. It's like nothing changes in your life because the resistance keeps circling you backwards and holds you in this little, it's like a little whirlpool that you can't get out of. And it's maddening. It's frustrating. But if you can work with a healer that understands this, you can work together. You must work together. Everything is free will. I cannot do it for you. When you get to the point that you're ready to let go, then the resistance will be shown to you. You'll see it and it can be dissolved. And then we can make tremendous progress. But this is the number one thing that keeps people from achieving their goal of spiritual ascension, spiritual healing, spiritual awakening. understanding and receiving your calling, because all the resistance will block you from all of that. So it's really critical that we learn to spot it and what to do about it. So, are any of you feeling like you might be stuck in this whirlpool of resistance? Write it in the comments. Let's chat about it. The more we become aware of it, the easier it is to direct it and to circumvent it. And this becomes a lifelong dance. Resistance will always be in our lives, but as long as we understand it and we understand the purpose of it, which is to protect the ego, that's the only purpose it serves, is to protect the ego. So we don't want to feel wrong, we don't want to feel violated, we don't want to feel vulnerable, we don't wanna feel open because we could get hurt if we feel open, and this is what resistance does, is it prevents the ego from feeling any of this. It creates a brick wall. So, I wanna give you some examples of my experience with resistance. If you've read my book, Canine Spirit Guides, The Healing Power of Man's Best Friend. There's a lot of examples of resistance in that book, through my journey, and when we continuously fall prey to resistance, the wall gets thicker and thicker and thicker and higher and higher and higher, and what ends up happening is the messages have to come through louder and louder and louder from your own personal guides to try and shift you, that bigger things start happening in your life. So we saw in my life where I got hit by a car on my bicycle and broke my back. And there you see me at the lowest of the low. And my resistance had created a rage within me. And here in this event, when I'm flat on my back and I can't move, the rage takes over. So, this is what happens when we allow resistance to govern us, to govern our behavior, our decisions, the choices we make, and it keeps us isolated. When we're open and curious, we're not in resistance. When we're open and curious, we engage with the world through love and respect. When we judge other people, we're resistant, we're closed, our heart's not open. We can't share the frequency from our heart. We might be sharing frequency from our mind, but this is not how humanity heals. We must heal from our heart. So, as long as we're resistant with ourselves and with other people, our heart is closed. I had a really profound message about resistance from ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is a shamanic plant medicine from the Amazon. Look it up. I'm not going to give you a whole tutorial on what it is, but it is a drug that's been used for centuries by the indigenous people of the Amazon, the medicine men and women, to connect us deeply to our souls, to our higher selves, to our higher knowing. And when I finished writing my book, Canine Spirit Guides, I was invited by ayahuasca to come and sit with her. Now, these plant medicines, I'm going to tell you about two today. Ayahuasca is a very profound, gentle, wise, impactful teacher. She's a teaching medicine. When you take this medicine, you go on a journey with ayahuasca, and she literally takes on a persona. Each person she'll appear to in a different persona. It might be a wild animal, it might be a god, it could be a person in your life that she appears to you as. Whatever would be acceptable by you is how she appears. And when I sat with her, I was very I was one of those who was eager beaver.
Canine Spirit Guides, The Healing Power of Man's Best Friend by Heather Leigh Strom. We've always suspected dogs are magical angels from God. In this groundbreaking book, you'll discover the specific divine gifts our canine companions really possess as they facilitate our healing, elevate our awareness, and expand our consciousness. Man's best friend has their own spirit guides, which is why they appear in our lives just when we need them most. This award-winning book, Canine Spirit Guides, The Healing Power of Man's Best Friend by Heather Leigh Strom, is available on Amazon.com and HeatherLeighStrom.com. Get your copy today and begin your journey.
I was like, okay, I've done all my homework. I have done all my prep work. I've been medically cleared. I have been through the ringer to get here because I was tested before I got to go and sit with her. And I know I'm ready. I just knew I was ready. I was open and anxious and ready at the same time, excited to be there. Took my medicine, and for a long time, nothing happened. Everyone else in the room was having a journey. They were having emotional explosions. They were vomiting. They were purging. They were going through their shit. Nothing happened with me. After a couple hours, I got up, had another dose of ayahuasca, sat back down on my mat, and after a little bit of time, things finally started to happen. I saw all these beautiful colors, Technicolor. I'd never seen so many colors, beautiful, just floating around, making all these beautiful designs behind my eyes and my mind's eye. And I was suddenly aware of someone being with me, standing next to me, a person, ayahuasca. And this is all with my eyes closed. I had gone inward. And ayahuasca says, don't fall for it. Don't fall for the trip, right? The trip is usually where people hang out when they're using drugs like ayahuasca. They get to the trip, which is the pretty part, and they don't go any deeper. And she said, get past it. Go deeper into the learning. You need to move into the resistance. And I said, wow, that's profound. But how do I do that? And she said, instruct it, control it. You are in charge. So when she said that to me, instantly, intuitively, I have no idea how I figured this out. Intuitively, I just knew what she meant. And with my thoughts, my consciousness, I instructed all these pieces to come together and form an arrow. And with this arrow, I then shot it into the resistance, breaking it up and dissolving it. And when that happened, I went deep. I finally got through the resistance and I was able to access the deeper part of me that I came there to spend time with and to understand and to reconnect. Now, another lesson she taught me, she gave me an analogy at that point because she's a teaching medicine. She will literally talk your ear off. She will tell you everything you want to know as long as you're not sitting in resistance. If you sit in resistance, what happens is nothing, or you vomit your guts out for the next 4 hours. You're sitting in resistance. When you're working with medicine, the purging is the way that we get rid of the resistance. So if all you do is purge and you don't go on your journey, you're still sitting in resistance. So she shared with me an analogy of the sperm and the egg. So the successful sperm has full intention to overcome all resistance. That's its goal in life. That's its only purpose in life, is to shoot through the resistance, through that cell wall into the egg to fertilize it, right? Think about that. How many sperms get to that egg? What, millions, trillions? I don't know. I can't give you that data. I know it's a lot. And all but one will hit the resistance and bounce off, right? When the successful sperm comes down that tunnel and around the corner, having no idea where he's going, except that he's fully intent on reaching his goal and not letting anything get in his way, breaking through all the resistance. This sperm has no idea what's going on. He just knows what he's guided to do. He knows what his purpose is. He doesn't know where it is. He's following his gut, coming around this corner in the dark over to this little bitty egg sitting in the corner. There's a whole lot of other sperm sitting around it. He doesn't stop to assess the situation. He doesn't stop to say, can I succeed? He doesn't stop to say, is it my turn to try and get in? Nope. He just plows right down the tunnel, around the corner, and into the egg, right? That's how we get through resistance. We full on shoot through it without any apologies, without any regrets, without any hesitation. We just go for it, right? She was showing me this example, and I have used it from then on out. I've used it in my life to know when I've been resisting. If I stop to think about it, if I stop to try and analyze it, if I stop to question it, then I'm sitting in resistance. So that for me was a great lesson from ayahuasca, because that was really subtle. It's hard sometimes to realize that you're resisting. It's so quiet, insidious, and natural to go into that state. So it takes some practice and some coaching sometimes for us to realize that's what happened. Now, let's talk about an experience I have oftentimes with rape. Rape is another plant medicine that I use. Since my experience with ayahuasca, I've also been using rape on a regular basis. It is another plant medicine from the Amazon. It's a shamanic tobacco, and it's very skilled, especially skilled at breaking through resistance. And this is why I like it so much. When I work with rape, I am typically working with my own resistance and sometimes with my client's resistance. Let me explain what I mean by that. If I suspect that I'm sitting in resistance over something that's happened, a direction I want to go into, a belief that I have, or maybe a relationship, if I'm sitting in resistance around that relationship, or maybe a business opportunity, I will sit with rape and request that rape show me the resistance and help me dissolve it, because this is what this medicine does. Rape is a cleaner of the body, the physical body, the energetic body. And when you work with rape, if there is resistance in the body, it will cause you to purge, to get the resistance out. So the more you purge, the more resistance you have. So that's a really good meter. It's really easy to see that conversion because you can see it in the bucket, right? So if you can sit with rape and not purge, then you're effectively holding that energy and holding that frequency without having a resistance to it. So I will work with rape if I expect that I'm holding resistance, and it will help me move through that. Because once I purge, the frequency can get through and I can move that resistance out of the way. Take it out of the equation. It will no longer affect me. It will no longer block me, and I can move forward in that direction. So you see how powerful resistance is. It's even contagious. So we have to be very conscious and aware of how much this affects us as human beings, how much it affects our society, and whether or not our society can grow and shift and elevate its frequency. By staying in resistance, nothing will change. By dissolving the resistance, everything will change in a positive way, in an enlightened way, into love and light, right? If we sit in resistance, it's not possible. Okay, so that was a lot about resistance. We're going to be doing a channeled healing session with the canine spirit guides around resistance so that this will cause you to be able to see it. It will assist you in being able to see it more easily. We're not going to do anything that will individually dissolve your resistance, but it will give you the ability to identify it so you can take that action. Thank you for joining me today. The healing session for this episode with the Canine Spirit Guides is now available exclusively through my subscriber portal on Substack. These energetic downloads are sacred transmissions, and by moving them to a dedicated space, I can connect more intentionally with those of you who feel called to receive them. It also helps me get to know you a little better so that I can more effectively serve and support this growing community. If you'd like to access the healing frequencies of this episode's Canine Spirit Guide and future transmissions, just head over to my Substack at heatherleigstrom.substack.com and become a subscriber. Whether you join us there or simply tune in here, the Canine Spirit Guides and I are so grateful to share this path with you. And be sure to stay put because there might be more coming on this podcast. Welcome back. See if you can tap into your level of resistance. Begin to ask questions. Have a conversation with your resistance. Have a conversation with your ego. Check in, and anytime you feel stuck or you feel yourself reverting back to the ego, being judgmental or resisting anything, check in with it. Now that you've been given the tool to become more aware of it, you have the authority to override it. You have the authority to dissolve it. You have the authority and the awareness to take a different path. Okay? See how that works for you. See if that brings you more awareness of your own resistance. If you're seeing resistance in other people, it's usually a mirror. So be sure and check in with yourself. Resistance is hard to see, especially in ourselves. It becomes much more obvious in other people before it will be obvious to you about yourself. So always ask questions and check in. No matter what you see, everything is a message. So always default inward and ask what you need to know. Okay? That was a really beautiful offering from Oeragon. All right, until next time, I love you guys.